Okay everyone, so here we have the Kawasaki KLR650 Tengai part out. We've got quite a few parts that have already been claimed by some of the Facebook group members, including the electrics, the bash plate, the crash bars, and the chassis minus the wheels. So to sort of take a quick walk through in videos and pictures of what we've got available. So starting off, we've got two brand new brake and clutch levers that were always just kept as spares in the backpack, rattling around in the event of having a bit of a fall. They're unused apart from just some rubbing marks on the black levers. Next up, we've got the Kawasaki KLR650 carburetor, the CV carb. That's running the slide mod and the KLX needle, and that's running really nicely with my modified motor. I do have other jets available and the rest of the KLX needle kit to pass on to the new owner. Okay, next up we've got the clutch lever and the handguard. It's got a little bit of scuff on it from the fall, and that'll come with the clutch cable as well. Now we've got the rare as hen's teeth front disc guard. This one should buff up pretty well. It's just got some minor scuffing. A lot of that stuff you see there's just dirt from the last ride, but there is some minor scuffing there that should sand out reasonably well, but the visible part of the disc guard is still in really good nick, so you barely notice that on the underside. We've got we've got the rear sets and rear brake lever, and same thing for the left hand side. Rear disc, top and bottom guards, again getting a bit rare as hen's teeth, in pretty decent shape for their age, just a few scuffs. And we've got the rear brake caliper, which underwent an overhaul maybe less than 5,000 kilometers ago, including new seals, I believe new pistons, and new things like the little rubber expanders there. That's running really well now with a new set of pads. I believe I've got some brand new off-road specific pads as well that have never been used that can get chucked in there. I've got the radiator header tank as part of the cooling system. Nothing wrong with that, it's in perfectly good usable shape. That comes with the subframe and the horn there as well, and might as well looking to get rid of the cooling system just as one unit. And we've got the radiator. This one runs perfectly fine and doesn't leak at all. There's a little bit of a dent in the side there, maybe from a previous fall, but performance wise haven't noticed any issues even on my high compression motor, and that comes with the radiator cooling fan and cables. I've got the rear indicators here, front and left. Both are in reasonable nick, just with a couple little scuffs on the side just from over the years, and some assorted plastic covers for the rear brake reservoir and the battery and that little electrical box on the left hand side. Now moving on, here's something that might be of a little bit of interest to somebody. We've got a complete ignition key barrel set where we have the tank cap, the ignition barrel, and the helmet lock with an original Kawasaki OEM key. Plus, you can see in there there's a spare cut key as well. Only, I guess, defect with this, it works perfectly fine, but the actual key is able to be removed from the ignition while the ignition is turned on. So I've just always had my key on a lanyard and tied it around the handlebar crossbar, just to make sure that the key doesn't happen to fall out. I haven't had it happen to me before. That's just a bit of a heads up for anyone buying. I've got the stock standard rear rack. This one's all pretty fine. It was repainted a few years ago. Just got a little minor scuff there that I've circled in pen from the fall there in minor, should buff out or repaint over, and that's the rear rack there in reasonable shape. Now moving on, we've got the the underguard for the rear wheel, and we've got a rear seat that's in perfect nick. This is a stock KLR rear seat that has some quite striking new blue marine vinyl that's been reupholstered on there, and that's a really good looking seat there, and any marks you see on there are just probably from my dirty fingerprints. That'll wipe off nicely. It'll be a perfect seat for anyone looking for a bit of an upgrade there. Now we've got the left and right panels for the bike. These are fairly good nick for the age, but there are a few marks on them. This is a previously repaired crack that's got epoxy on the backhand side. Decals are in fairly good shape. I've got some kind of previous repair down here, and a little tiny crack that's been previously repaired up the other side there. All the other marks in terms of the discoloration, that's just dust from being in storage. This one here is a little bit cleaner. No major cracks that we can see, apart from this one here that's been previously repaired. You can feel some epoxy on the other side to hold it all together, and a little bit of a scuff mark on the decal. But otherwise, that one's in pretty good, tidy shape considering how old the Tengais are getting now. Moving on here to the right hand side, we've got the rear brake master cylinder and handguard. The handguard's probably seen better days. It's got a bit of a crack in it, but the rear master cylinder is in perfect nick, runs really well. We've got aftermarket braided brake lines. They came from, they've come over from America, and we've got the front caliper it's looking a bit dirty from all the off-road riding, but that's got new seals and the like inside it, and reasonably new pads that have plenty of life left in them. That's right, those braided brake lines come from Eagle Mike. Okay, now at the front fairings, we've got the front left fairing. You'll see I've marked all the damage on that for the insurer when they've made the bike a total loss. Got a few cracks and scuffs and knocks in it. It would suit someone who's a bit handy and willing to do a bit of a repair and a respray on that one. Accordingly, it'll go pretty cheap. And moving on to the right hand side, this one's looking in much better nick. There's a couple sort of historical bits of damage, like we've got the pegs on the backside typically break, so there's a hole here that allows you to put a bolt through with some large flat washers that pull that in, and we've got the header tank mounts here riveted on, and they sit on the other side like such. Don't really notice it, to be honest. This previous crack here has been historically epoxied up. That works well, and we've got a crack here that I've repaired myself with some carbon fibre, and it's not all that noticeable, but for a particular buyer, just take note there are sort of marks and scratches and the like on these fairings. They're not pristine, but for the age, they're doing okay. And then we've got the functional indicators here that are all fully working, just a couple light scratches on them on both the left and the right. We've got the front headlight nose cone here. You'll see somebody must have been running an auxiliary light or something like that in the past, because we've got two little drilled holes there for some reason. Everything else is in pretty good nick. No major issues. The other item I've marked is there's a tiny little crack here, but again, this bit of the panel's pretty well hidden, and you don't really notice that. We've got the rear guard. Now I've just got a couple little defects in the paint from when I had my fall, and that there's just from the rear rack, when it can get a little bit loose and rub up and down, but when the rack's in place you don't notice that. Got the rear tail light, the stock standard mudguard, a lot of people cut off, and on this side here you'll see that little cutaway, that's for the Danmoto exhaust. I've just been allowing the heat to slowly cut it away naturally, and it's got a perfect curve in it now to suit the aftermarket exhaust. I've got the Danmoto exhaust in pretty good nick. That's all been repacked with a mix of fiberglass and steel wool. We'll be looking to get rid of that with the header pipe all as one unit. Now here's the interesting one that doesn't come up too often. We've got the gauges here. They are Tengai specific. I don't believe they come on any other models. These are in really good nick with 33,000 Ks on the clock. Only issue is the tacho needle has snapped, but as you can see, the actual glass on here is in really good nick. Any sort of marks you see is just dust from sitting in the yard for a little bit. And then just some of the text on here is starting to rub off, but apart from that, it's all fully functional. We've also got the little front subframe and a perfectly good headlight with an upgraded bulb in it that will have plenty of life left in it. Getting towards the end now, we've got the fuel tank. This one's in really good shape. I don't believe there's any significant corrosion on the inside, so pretty good for its age. Only sort of notable defects in it is there's a tiny little shallow dint here. There's some rubbing on the paint just generally all around the tank, down here as well, and some little minor scratches from the fall here, and some damage to the paint and stickers just from when I've had the fall. The fuel's leaked out and done a bit of damage there, but it's all sort of cosmetic. This tank would suit someone to do a bit of a respray and to put some new decals on with those stickers that are available in sticker kits that are available in South America for about $100 US. This one should come out nicely, and given that it doesn't appear to have any internal corrosion, should last the new owner quite a long time. We've also got, I think these are the standard mirrors, no major issues with those apart from some little minor scuffs on the outside from over the years. Now we've got the front wheel, that's all straight and true and in pretty good nick for its age, with the speedo drive as well, and that comes with the speedo drive cable. Only thing to note with the front wheel is it's got the CNC hub repair kit that's available on Facebook sales and through the KLR groups that repairs the speedo drive, so that speedo drive will be quite robust now and should last a pretty long time. Brake disc thickness passes the roadworthy, no issues there. And for the rear wheel, yep, same thing, it's pretty straight and true. It's got the Motors Adventure tyres with at least 50% life left in them, a few thousand Ks left, and a brand new Metal Gear disc that has no visible wear. That one's probably only less than 5,000 Ks old, so got plenty of life left in it. I don't think there's much else to go through there. The front tyre has the TKC80 with about 50% life left in it, and the chassis that you see here, that's spoken for. That one has been sold off, including the front forks with the professionally set up emulators and respring, and the WP rear shock, the fully adjustable WP shock. That one's been spoken for as well by one particular buyer. And finally, we pulled the engine out today. This engine has 33,000 Ks on it and had a top end rebuild less than 3,000 kilometres ago. The engine has a Wasner 11:1 compression forged piston in it, and the cylinder head has large 1mm oversized inlet valves, 0.5mm oversized exhaust valves, and reamed seats that have been checked for clearances, and a port job on the inlet and exhaust ports. A brand new cam chain, and she goes pretty hard, guys. She needs 98 octane fuel minimum, and yeah, pulls a lot stronger up in the top end compared to a standard KLR, and is still able to lug reasonably well. I ride it off-road, plus get into the twisties with it, and yeah, it definitely feels like it's got somewhere in the order of 10 horsepower more than a stock standard motor, which is, yeah, quite a bit, feels like quite a bit more by the seat of the pants. Alright, that's all for now. Yeah, just hit me up on Facebook if you're interested in any of the parts we've got up for grabs. Thank you. See ya.